Hello, everybody. Welcome to Disrupt Your Now with me and my co-host, Rachel Garrett Mercer. And
Hola.
tonight we have our buddy, Brandon Straza, that we know through the Speakeasy, Steve Sims Speakeasy. Y'all may have heard of Brandon. He is the host of the Mastermind Effect podcast, which is an awesome podcast. If you haven't listened to it, you need to. But Brandon is first going to introduce himself and tell y'all about a new project that he has coming. And then we're going to talk about masterminds and coaching and why it's so important. Hit it,
absolutely.
Brandon.
All right, Lisa, Rachel, thank you so much for having me. So yeah, my name is Brandon Strassa. And a couple of years ago, I finally realized that I was an entrepreneur, but I didn't feel comfortable with that word. It was just kind of like, it felt dirty. It felt not true because I had heard it thrown around for years. And I finally kind of stepped into that. I had a business now that spans, over 10 years and over 8,000 existing customers. And so, I mean, I had built an unbelievable foundation, but saying I was an entrepreneur was like, what does that really mean at the end of the day? And it wasn't until I found out about self-education, coaching, and masterminds. And no, I'm not a coach. No, I don't have a mastermind. No, I'm not going to have those. But I learned about that, and I realized, oh my gosh, there's a world of knowledge out there that I've stayed away from. And my wife was fortunate and sat there and said, "Have you continued learning from other people? Have you continued this journey?" And I'm like, "Honey, with what we're doing right now, we're so busy." Mm-hmm. And she called me out. Literally, she's like, "That's BS."
Yeah, you can't have time not to.
Yeah.
What's
costing me not to? So I reached out to someone that I'd interviewed through one of my companies, and I said, "Hey, you talking about this mastermind?" I actually didn't even Google it. Like today, you take me a fast forward like 2.5 years later, which I didn't know what those words meant. I would have Googled it. I didn't even Google it. I'm just like, "Hey, so do you remember me? And what is a mastermind?" Now, here's the thing. If I had Googled it, I might not have reached out to him because I think there would have been a lot of words.
Yeah.
I've got a show now called The Mastermind Effect, the podcast. And I would have been like, "Oh yeah, I'm not reaching out to him. This just isn't for me." But I did. So I reached out to him. I went to my first mastermind, and that's where I met some people that were entrepreneurs, that they were problem solvers, and Steve Sims happened to be one of them. I met him on the
trip to Thailand, right?
Yeah, the mean streets of Thailand. So, I meet him over there, and when I'm leaving Thailand, I realized my unfair advantage was time and money, and it wasn't that I had an abundance of either, but I had more than the average person because I had put in my time. Yeah. I'd gotten bumped, I'd gotten bruised, I had seen trials and tribulations. I had lost money, and I'm leaving, and I sit there and I'm like, wow, that's not cool. That's not fair. What if there was a way to help shorten that gap? What if there was a way when someone's building their bridge, which is where they're at and where they want to go, and we can help them cut out the noise and help them find the signal? Because the noise is all the marketers out there. The noise is like, oh, I bought this program, and then it doesn't turn out to anything because it's they're marketers.
Yeah.
And what if I could, build something with people way smarter than me, and it was a matching, rating, knowledge-based center. And so out of that came the Mastermind Effect, where I get to interview the result leaders, not the thought leaders. Okay. Because, everyone has a thought, but it doesn't mean we should learn and follow them, but the result leaders. And so the Mastermind Effect is a place that we've recorded almost 100 episodes to date and released, about 55, I believe, or so. And that allows me to have a gateway into getting to know these coaches and masterminds better as we're vetting them. And out of that came, the Mastermind Effect is the pebble in the pond. If one person listens and they're impacted and they reach out to that person and they work with them, the podcast did its job. The Success Finder, what I'm talking about, which was that epiphany, and it was midnight and I'm getting bumped from the flight, and I don't speak Thai, so I didn't know why, but I started buying up URLs. It was March of 2019. I just started buying the URLs in the middle of an airport, and came home. And as I talk about in one of my episodes, I took the idea off the shelf. We have so many ideas that just sit on the shelf and they don't go anywhere. So I talked about it, and people started gravitating towards it. And so I started building a team around it and reworking that team and finding the right people. So what we're building is to help change the face of self-education. It's so that when you're going from point A to point B in your bridge, You don't have to listen to the noise. You can find that signal. You can work with the result leaders, and it's going to be a matching, rating, knowledge-based center. So think of TripAdvisor, but for self-education. The self-education space is over a $50 billion a year industry. And within the next 5 to 10 years, they're predicting it's going to be to $300 to $350 billion industry, because the education system's kind of broken.
Yeah.
I'm trained. I went through this standardized education, but my belief is, unless you want to be a doctor or a nurse or an engineer, do you really need $250,000 in debt, or could you take 30 or 40,000 over a 3-year period and learn from people actually doing it? But how do you know who to? And that's where we come in. So we're the TripAdvisor for making sure that you know where you're going.
But when you say self-education, you mean specifically for entrepreneurs, right? Or is it going to be like career path things within there?
Think about that. Think about that word. I didn't feel comfortable. I owned a business. I had team members. We have 401ks. We match 401ks. We pay cell phone bills. We pay W-2s. But I didn't look at myself as an entrepreneur. So if I sat there and said it's only for entrepreneurs,
but for business owners, though, what my point is it also going to evolve into self-education for like people who want to be employees or.
Because entrepreneurs exist inside of companies. Entrepreneurs work for Rachel. Entrepreneurs work for Lisa. But the reality is, sometimes you don't want the risk and the liability of owning your own company, but you're still an entrepreneur in mindset, and you can bring ideas and partner, and maybe eventually you work for the right company and you get some form of equity ownership. And, you're able to build into that. So we don't want to corner ourselves and say, hey, you have to feel like an entrepreneur, because at 38, 39, 40, I was like, I'm not an entrepreneur.
Well, Brandon, I'm so glad that you point that out, because for years I have tried to get people to understand that even if you're an employee, your career is you are an entrepreneur and your career is your business. And I call it an intrapreneur, but you still, if you can approach your own employee career the same as somebody else would building their business, and I think it would really help people in their career path and help them grow more than they ever imagined that they could, and they wouldn't feel stuck.
Yeah, the way we're looking at it is there's standard education, there's trade school, and there's the success finder.
Yeah.
Each one has a place, and you can go to each one of those, but there needs to be that outlet to change how we learn and who we learn from.
Yeah.
That resonates with me so much, because I'm 6 months into my new business venture. And one of the first things I did when I was thinking about switching careers was I looked for online education. And so I did tons of research. It took me forever to kind of narrow down, who is this person? Is it a marketing ploy? That kind of thing. So having something like this, when I was going through that even 6 months ago, this is amazing. And I feel like it would be really useful for so many people, like you're saying, across the board. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that. I want to say, because you kind of speak to who I am. So some people come in the front door and they're like, hey, I want this type of person at this price point, at this time frame, virtual, face-to-face, whatever. And that's people, but me, I reverse engineer it. And so I come in the back door, and that's why we're building the Knowledge Center. So think of the Library of Congress. Okay. Yeah. It's going to be the top 5 blogs, vlogs, and videos of all the TSF coaches, the Success Finder coaches and masterminds. So as opposed to when you're there, you're like, hey, I want to look up subject matter. And I want to sit there and say, I want to learn how to bake a cake. Okay. I love food, so I'm just going to go with food. But I go to YouTube, and 10 minutes later, I'm looking at camera equipment. I'm looking at something else because I go down a rabbit hole. Well, I go to look in the Knowledge Center for a specific piece of what I'm looking for. And our system will allow you to do that, as opposed to then saying, oh, now I got to go to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. I got to go somewhere else. We want to keep them on the system. Okay. Hey, I'm not going to hide that. We want to keep you there.
Yeah,
but how do I make your journey easier? So the Knowledge Center, you're like, oh, you watch this short video, you read this blog, and you're like, oh, well, who did that? Now I can reverse engineer it. I came in the back door, and you're like, oh, it was Lisa Kipps-Brown. Like, I want to work with her. How do I do that? And it guides you along that journey to make sure that you're getting that result.
It's a great opportunity for people who want to be able to learn for free from a lot of experts. But then if they see somebody that they really gravitate towards, they can dive deeper and pay for things if they want to. But the beauty of it is that we should never stop learning. So even the people, even the experts that are on there, people like me, I've been doing this for 25 years now. I still have a ton to learn, and I still have a mentor, and I still, so it's great because it's going to have something for everybody. I'm so excited about it, Brandon.
Yeah. And we want to make sure, I mean, like I've talked with so many different coaches and masterminds, and they're not all for us. And I'm okay with saying no. For example, I see someone that's selling a product and selling a service, a coaching service. And through a conversation that I had with them, and I see what they're selling, they said, hey, I only have to be one step ahead of the people that are in my program. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, just want to let you know the podcast and the platform aren't for you. Maybe someday. And they're like, well, why? I mean, you're wanting people to populate this. I said, no, that's our job to help populate it. Yeah. But I said, if you're one step ahead of the people in your program, they're one step ahead of stepping in a landmine. And so that's what we want to prevent. It doesn't mean that person was a bad person, but listen, you can't be so fragile with people's intellectual knowledge, their money, whether it's $500 or $5,000, that's equally as important when you're going to invest, because when you invest in something, the most important investment in your life, and it took me almost 40 years to learn this. So this is something that, hey, I was wrong in. It's better than the stock market. It's better than the housing market. By the way, I'm in both of those, so I'm not saying don't be in it, but you can't control the housing market and stock market. The thing you can control is yourself, your return on your investment on yourself. You can control yourself. So that's why this is so important to me. We're going to be a for-purpose business, which hopefully we'll get into, but invest in yourself from now to the end of time.
Yes, please. When my guest last week, Tab Pierce, I don't know if you know him, but
he and I connected offline. So he and I are going to meet, have some form of a conversation hopefully soon.
Oh, he's awesome. And his wife is going to be on my show Thursday to give the flip side of the experience of what they went through.
I love that.
But anyway, he said, when I asked him, what did you change in your business? When he was going through the turnaround, because for those of y'all who don't know what I'm talking about, he had a very successful multi-million-dollar business, but several things happened that all of a sudden he was going to fail. He was $750,000 in debt. But Brandon, I asked him, well, what are some of the things that you changed in your business? He said, I changed very little in my business. It was mostly me. He changed his attitudes towards the way that he billed. Like before, he didn't require 50% deposit, things like that. That is changing it in the business, but that's also changing your mindset of what you feel like you deserve and things like that.
Yeah. Most of our problems are us. We're literally, you got to realize.
I say that for myself 100%.
Yeah, we are our own problem. And it's okay to admit that. Like, get out of your own way.
Yeah.
Learn to work with people like Rachel. Learn to work with people like Lisa and Steve and all these other amazing people. I was on the phone with Lee Cockrell here, or a Zoom call a few hours ago, and he was one of the previous executives at Disney and what he's building. Learned to utilize other people's experiences, and it will help you from stepping in a landmine.
Yeah. And it, like you said earlier, it shortens your journey. You don't have to make the same mistakes they did. That doesn't mean you won't make mistakes, because obviously you will, but you don't have to make the same ones they made. You can learn from them.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're going about it, it's an amazing, amazing thing.
Yeah. Rachel, did you have something you wanted to say or something you wanted to ask? Because I started blabbing away.
We're good right now. I'm just thinking about how this would work. And I'm just thinking about the education space in general. And I'm thinking about the noise that's out there. And I'm just trying to think about, you guys, Brandon, you have, like you said, reverse engineered how to get here. But how are you guys promoting this across? Is it, a clubhouse, like an invite only? Is it how are you guys gonna, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So as we're serving, multiple sides, membership is free. You only have to pay if you're going to play, meaning, hey, you're going to work with one of the coaches, you're going to get in a mastermind, something on that. So we want to make sure that all the walls are down. And I've been advised against it. No, charge a monthly membership. And I'm like, no, I want to give this. I want to lead with the give mentality. Give this. You know, from the coaching aspect, we're not going to have every coach and mastermind on there, and that's okay. We don't want to be everything for everyone, or then we're nothing. And so, I mean, you know, there's a process that we go through to make sure that we have the right result leaders, that we have the right coaches and masterminds that are going to be on there. And then here's the thing: if I rely upon the coach, if our company is relying upon the coaches to populate the platform, then we didn't do anything. We just spent some money, created a place. They did the work.
Yeah.
So I've got smarter people than me that are around me that have built out the marketing plan. And again, I know I sat there and said, we want to cut out the noise, which is the marketers. Okay. So we're not marketing from the standpoint of marketing the wrong things. And we're, you know, we've got our own blitz of how we're going to get out there to the consumers to bring them to the platform and have them, you know about what we're doing. So we're not going to cry over spilled milk when someone like Lisa or you, Rachel, say, hey, you should come over to the Success Finder, download the app and take a look at that, which will be available next month. But we are going to spend our own marketing dollars. So a couple things. I'll get into the for-purpose part with this because it kind of streams into it. So we're going to spend our marketing dollars to bring people and to populate and make sure that we bring the right people to the platform. That's one of our promises. One of the other things is we wanted to make sure that we had a purpose. You can build a company, but if you don't have a purpose behind it, what are you really building? You're trying to build your pocketbook. I've been fortunate where I've been bumped up. I've lost, I've won, I've lost, I've won. And so I know what it's like when you hear about a bankruptcy. I know what it's like when someone, a family member, takes your money and abuses that from an investment standpoint. I know what that feels like because I've been through that. So we wanted to build a for purpose, and it's twofold. We're going to take a portion of what we make and we're going to reinvest it in the members. So they'll be able to build up soft dollars. Think of like airline miles per se. They'll be able to build up about 1,000 soft dollars to reinvest in themselves. So we'll hold a portion back. They can get another coach. They can get another mastermind. They can get another event because we want to make sure that we are invested in the people that are invested in us. The other portion, which is one of the most important things out there, and this is the example that I give. Timmy at the age of 28 had the household where mom and dad worked the 9 to 5 and just like, hey, at 28, he's, moving along, and that's fine. That's great. But Sally at the age of 14 has a dad who works a night shift and a mom who works a double and isn't there and doesn't have that support of knowing what coaching or masterminds or mentorship or having, she's not in that school district that can give her that unfair advantage that Timmy got. And now Timmy's 28. But Sally at the age of 14 has more life experiences than Timmy does at 28. So we're going to hold a portion of our proceeds back and we're going to reinvest in the school districts and in the areas that don't have the ability to give Sally that opportunity to help grow and nurture her and make her that next person that's solving a problem. So we're going to reinvest in the communities and make sure that we pay our coaches and our masterminds to work with those school districts to make sure that we're nurturing that younger generation. And that's just unbelievably important to us to make sure that they have that, because I have a 6-year-old and we talk to him about his unfair advantage and that he needs to understand that.
Yeah.
If we have a way to help and give back and nurture that younger generation, then we can't be stopped. They can't be stopped. This isn't my idea. This isn't my company. This is me taking ideas that made other people successful, rearranging it in a Rubik's Cube that made sense and that helped solve the problem. And so it's not mine. It's everyone that's working with us.
Brandon, I love it so much. And, so talking about it from the child's perspective, obviously I'm not a child anymore, but when I was,
all three of us have kind of bypassed that child. You don't want to lose your childlike mentality because boy, it's amazing what they can do.
I'm probably the age of you two put together. So, but when I was growing up, I grew up in a rural community. There are like 30,000 people, whatever, in the county. We had one high school, one junior high school, which is now middle school. I felt fortunate that because we did all go to the same school, we were exposed to everybody in the socioeconomic structure. but I still didn't have exposure to the types of careers out there. The guidance counselor didn't really do anything until your senior year, like basically say, what do you want to do? You're like, I don't know. And so literally I saw farmers, I saw small business owners that I didn't consider entrepreneurial thing, just small business owners. And then I saw manufacturing facilities. Yeah. And it's like, I couldn't see myself in any of them. I knew at a very young age, probably high school. I don't know if I knew before then, but I knew at some point I would be working for myself. I just had no idea what I would be doing. But just the fact that you can provide a way for kids to have exposure to learn about opportunities that are out there that they can create from themselves. Of course, they can learn a lot more than I could then anyway because of the internet, but it still helps when you have people behind it who really are connecting with you personally to kind of explain things.
Yeah, I mean the team around us, I'm so fortunate. I get to surround myself with people like the two of you. I get to surround myself with, just amazing result leaders and the people that are helping us build this out. I mean, it's already $250,000 that's just been poured into the technology. I'm funding this myself, and eventually, I got to go out there and I got to raise capital. I haven't done that before.
Okay, anybody out there, by the way, if you want to invest in anything, call Brandon.
If you want to invest, that's one of the things 2021 is bringing us is I'm going to have to go out there, and I'm doing that. And that's why, one of the people that we were fortunate to get to bring on and work with here in the last 24 hours that we've been talking with for a while is going to help with that kind of that mindset and what we've got to do with it. I had my 6-year-old. I got to tell this story if you don't mind.
No, please.
So it's a couple weeks ago, maybe about a month ago. And we alternate nights when we read to our son. He'll read to us, then we'll read to him, but we alternate nights between my wife and I.
Great idea.
And he says, Daddy, come here. I said, what, buddy? I said, I want to talk to you. I said, well, I'm getting ready to read to you. Mommy's right here. He's like, no, I just want to talk to you. I said, all right. So I lay down in bed with him, and he says, I want to give you all my money. And I said, what do you mean? And he says, well, I want to help because we don't exclude him from hearing conversations about what we're building. We don't exclude him from from just those difficult conversations about what's going on. And he says, I want to give you all my money because I want to have the Success Finder help other people and make it come, make it happen. I said, wow, bud. I said, first of all, that just touches me in an unbelievable way. But I want to let you know that Daddy's going to go out and he's got to learn how to raise capital, work with the right people, get the right terms. And if I have to come to you by the end of 2021, then something went horribly wrong. But I said, what you're wanting to do is be an investor. He said, well, what's an investor? I said, well, you want to help solve a problem, give someone, an organization, a company your money to help other people, and in hopes for a larger return on your investment at a later date and time. So you want to solve a problem, make more than what you gave. He said, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to invest. And so it was just it was a heart melting moment.
Wow.
That's so cool. Well, I have to tell my own story. It's not quite as high level as that, but when our son was a toddler, he was like 2.5, maybe 3. And Tom had retired from the Navy, and we started a vending company at the time because the city we lived in was in recession. There were no jobs. We couldn't have sold our house. And so we started a vending company, and we did very well, but we were like you. We would have these conversations, but Glenn was in bed, and he overheard us talking one night. And when I went in there to kiss him goodnight, he goes, Mommy, when I grow up, I'm going to pay taxes on the vending machines. He couldn't even say the word machines, but it was just so cute. And I always remember that. And it was just so cute. And both of our kids, though, grew up in an entrepreneurial environment. Literally since the time Glenn was 1.5 years old, and Aaron's entire life, we've owned businesses. And so I think it's an invaluable experience for your kids. And Rachel grew up in a household like that because her dad is an entrepreneur.
Right. It was kind of both ends of the spectrum. My mom was a teacher. And so I think I always saw her invest in kids. And, she's always working with children with special needs and things like that. So I think I kind of got both ends of the spectrum, which was the heart to give back and then also the business mind to build. And so I think I had a really unique experience in that, just because I saw both ends of the spectrum and how that kind of created, my mindset being an entrepreneur. I had both of those pieces, like you're saying, Brandon. Your son is even, starting to get those little nuggets in his mind. And just to kind of piggyback, or I guess to clarify what you're talking about, giving back to schools and districts and things like that. How are you guys identifying what those districts are? Is it your team is really going out there and searching? Is it in the districts that your coaches are in? How is that working? Or can you share that yet?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can share. And the one thing that I want to clarify here is, if you don't have the answer, don't make one up. And I was talking to Lee Cockrell, so it's so important. So I can answer what I can answer for you. There's nothing I couldn't answer for you right now. I might not sit there and say, hey, some of the people that are behind the scenes supporting this, just because they appreciate their anonymity. But no, so we're going to put a team together that's going to find those school districts. It's not going to be in my backyard. It's not going to be in your backyard, at least. I mean, it could be, but it's not going to be based off of location. If COVID has taught us anything, and the Success Finder did not come because of COVID. I've been working on this since March of 2019.
Yeah.
Okay? And I saw a problem, but we'll put a team together, and they're going to find those school districts. Now, here's the great thing that COVID taught us. You can learn across board. Zoom's stock price has just gone crazy. So our coaches and our masterminds are going to be able to work with these students from the aspect of they can be anywhere. I mean, you could have 15 students on a Zoom call going through a mastermind once a month, and then have accountability check-ins with them, and make sure someone's overseeing that, because that's important to make sure someone's overseeing that. But we don't have to be face-to-face. But what if we're able to reach out and work with one child from India, another child from LA, another child from England, and someone else from Illinois, and they're able to collaborate and come together and have this safe zone, this opportunity that not only is it an opportunity for the children and their families, but an opportunity for that coach and mastermind to see things differently at a younger generation and help nurture that. It's so important. So yeah, we'll build a team together. And we'll make sure. So these are pieces of the puzzle that we're still working on. I'm not going to hide that. But this is one of the things that, it's an unbreakable. So if you think about it, when we make decisions, and I wear my emotion on my sleeve, if we make a decision based off of emotion, who knows which way. But this is one of the unbreakables that, regardless, I don't care. Money will be a byproduct of creating and solving the problem. The Success Finder will make money because of what we're going to solve. But we have to have an unbreakable. And one of those unbreakables in building a for-purpose company is saying, we're going to reinvest in the members, and we're going to reinvest in the world.
Wow. Brandon, that is beautiful. I mean, I already loved for purpose, but I didn't know that much about I knew kind of what you were going to do with kids, but not as much as you've said tonight. And think about it. You're not just investing in them and helping them now, but you've got these kids together from all over the country, all over the world. They are starting to build their own network and their own masterminds. They are going to be the leaders who help bring the others along. I'm going to cry. I just love it. It's so awesome.
It's not me, though. Here's the thing. It's not me.
No, I know, but
I get to surround myself and have people that are smarter and faster than me. My wife used a term once last year. I think it was last year. She said, listen, you're Walt Disney. You're not the CEO.
Yeah.
And so that's why I've got to surround myself with CEOs. And that's why I've got to that's why we've got, one of the co-founders of AWS, Amazon World Services, before it sold in the early 2000s, I think, when it sold in what we now know as AWS, but he was one of the creators and co-founders of that. That's why we have smarter people than me that are building out what we're building. That's why, as we build out the team that's going to help with the younger generation thing, I've got to have people that already have some experience and know how to build this section of it to make sure that, listen, here's my idea. Here's what we want to do. Here are our unbreakables.
Yeah.
Now go do it. We're going to give you the funds to go do it. I don't have all the answers to it, but I'm going to find the smart people that want to.
perspective. I think that's the big thing too. Like you have that perspective. You keep saying, you know, it's not about me. It's not that I have done this thing. And that's an incredible perspective that I think is just going to, you know, bleed through everything that you're doing. And then the kids are going to get that perspective. It's just the whole way that you're building this thing. I think that as long as everyone kind of keeps that in the back of their mind and they understand it's all about perspective, it's all about this purpose, like you're saying, I think that, like you said, it's an unbreakable. It's going to be incredible to watch.
Yeah, it's guys, gals, anybody. We got to change stuff.
Yeah, we do.
We just have to. I built a company and I love it. I love the people I get to work with. A few years ago, I felt that I'm like, where's my purpose? What am I doing? And you know, reinvented and learned and worked and moved forward. But gosh, if you got to look to change.
Yeah.
You've got to look to help people. It might not be best for you today, but if it's best for the world, if it's best for the community, that ripple effect will come back to you tenfold.
Yeah.
Well, and Lisa, I feel like, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I was going to say, you know, it's very similar to, you know, we're building this with, you know, Colin Garrett Racing and with American Dream Team. And there's so much that you have done, Lisa, to help build that. That is, you know, you're not seeing the rewards now, but it's building these relationships and it's changing an industry and it's changing all of these different things. And that perspective and those changes that we've just started to see in how you work with other people, I think that you're absolutely right. Industries and just the world in general need to change. At least I know you can speak more to that.
Yeah. And the thing is, most people within companies, most companies are afraid to change. They're afraid to take the risk because they have to keep, you know, they have to keep the stock price up and all that. And then the education system is the same. I mean, I have felt for many, many, many years that basically they see online education as gravy and they just kind of stuck their thing in a box and they're like, this is free money. So it takes the people like us, the disruptors, to come in and shake things up. And you know, Brandon, that's what we're trying to do with NASCAR.
Yeah.
And NASCAR, of course, hopes that we do succeed because it's better for them if we do, because we're the ones that are willing to take the risk to go out and change the way that we're going after sponsors. And for anybody that doesn't know, Rachel's brother is Colin Garrett. He is an Xfinity Series driver, and he is the only NASCAR driver racing to combat veteran suicide. His team is dedicated to promoting free services to help prevent veteran suicide, to educating and mentoring veterans and military spouses on entrepreneurship, and we help promote veteran and military spouse-owned businesses. So it's just really awesome. And like anything new, we struggle. You know, it's race to race to race. You know, are we going to be able to be on the track next week? But we all know that it's for a great cause, and when it works, it's going to work, and it's going to be awesome. And then everybody else that were the naysayers, they're going to be the wannabes. They're going to be the ones that want to pile up. This will be like, okay, baby, it's going to cost you a whole lot more.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll speak it from the layperson standpoint. I finally realized through research and conversations, NASCAR broke their system back in the 90s at a minimum. And they've never found a way to combat that. And it's not what, you know, Lisa and Rachel and Colin and your father, you're not wanting to think outside the box. You're living in a world where there is no box around you. And that's like, oh, you think outside the box. No. Disruptors, misfits, whatever. It's not that we think differently or we look outside the box. We just live in a world where there isn't a box.
Exactly.
And it's just like, here's the problem. Just because there hasn't been a solution doesn't mean that I can't think about it and I can't work on it. And when NASCAR realizes, like, I mean, they should be dumping millions of dollars into how do we change what we broke. But they're not relying upon that. So they need the people like Rachel and Lisa and Colin and the people that you're surrounding yourself with to have a purpose. And what do you do to create that? So you bring in that family atmosphere. So you bring in that connection. People connect to people.
Yeah. Brandon, I want to ask you, do you know Hobie Wedler?
Do I know who?
Hobie Wedler, Dr. Hobie Wedler. He's a blind PhD chemist.
I don't because I don't know someone Like,
Oh, no,
please
no,
don't
I
take
know.
that as
I'm
an
just
insult to the
saying,
person. I don't know a lot of people, but no, I
oh,
don't.
but, hey, I just met him recently, but he knows some of the same people you know. That's why I asked. I thought maybe, like, he knows Nick Peterson and people like, Nick from Speakeasy. So I didn't know if you may have met him. I want to introduce y'all.
I haven't. I mean, you threw out a name right there, Nick Peterson. I mean, he's probably one of the great sculptors and philosophers, but sculptors of his generation that will live on. And I mean, like, and there's a thing, like, back to self-education and masterminds, like, you get to work with people like Steve Sims. You get to work with people like, Jeff Moore, Nick Peterson. You get to, gosh, you pay to get into certain rooms. And then when you have paid to get in certain rooms, here's the thing. There's a monthly one that I'm involved with. And I don't pay to be in there. It's like I've paid my way to get to where I'm at. And now I have now it's a free room, but it's a monthly room that, like, you get to ask to be. And it's amazing what self-education can do when you get into, but you gotta invest in yourself. You gotta put that first.
You really do. And too many times we business owners get too bogged down into being a business owner, which really translates kind of into being an employee. We just get so bogged down into working in our business that we're not thinking long-term. We're not thinking big picture. We're just thinking, what do I have to do today to get money in so that I can, pay the bills tomorrow and next week?
Yeah. I'll guarantee you this, with what we're building with the Success Finder, if you're a business owner, you either work on your business or you work in your business. There's two big distinctions. And over the summer last year, one of the things that I said is, hey, I'm taking a week off because I'm going to be working, on my business. And I worked on several different aspects of different businesses of mine. And you come to the Success Finder. If you have a business, it does not mean that you have a business. But when you find the right coach, you find the right mastermind, you find the right people, you will learn not to be an employee of your business. Yeah. Because if you are an employee of your business, then just go get a job. Don't have the risk. Don't have the liability.
Exactly.
Don't have any of that. But these people will help you work on it as opposed to in it. They'll help transform not only how you are with your work, with the people that work with you. You can say work for you. I like to say work with you. How you are in your personal life. I can tell you, if you want to see one of the biggest impacts, doesn't mean that you won't be fallible. Doesn't mean that you won't be human. But how you are and how you interact with your friends and family and your loved ones, the right coach, the right mastermind will change that. There's not a dollar amount that I can put on it, but I can tell you the return on your investment, you can't afford not to do it.
That's so true. And, it's like a workout or a diet. People go, oh, that didn't work for me. The thing is, you have to have the coach and the mastermind that fit your personality and your way of learning. But Brandon, it just dawned on me, some people might not even really understand what a mastermind is. So let's talk about what a mastermind is, what a mentor is, and what a coach is. You want to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I want either one of you to step in because I say it doesn't mean it's so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I'm building a company around it.
Yeah.
I think when we learn something, let's say I say something to you and Rachel, okay, then you take that and you regurgitate it, but how it impacted you and how it was relevant to you. And so anytime we ever say something, we need to make sure, well, I learned it here. This is how it was relevant to me. I'm delivering it to you. So please make sure how it's relevant to you. You let someone else know that the message changes over time. So a mastermind, let's start with that one.
Yeah.
Probably the first mastermind, if you think about it, was the apostles. And I'm not trying to get religious here.
No.
Mine was probably the apostles. And then Benjamin Franklin creates something called the Junto Club or the Leather Apron Club. And then a guy by the name of Napoleon Hill writes a book on it. And he kind of solidifies and brings it full circle. And you can go to YouTube and you can still see Napoleon Hill in black and white. And he kind of sounds like this. And he's going on and he's like, a mastermind is So that's my bad impersonation of Napoleon Hill.
Like I have to look this up now just to hear that impersonation, see if it's right.
Please do afterwards. You can text me afterwards and be like, yeah, you're so far off. I stopped doing Steve Sims impersonations because my English accent's so bad. So
God.
a mastermind is really two or more people coming together, sharing their collective thoughts and helping each other out. You'll see a lot of different versions of what a mastermind is. And the term is abused. The term is abused more than a turkey on Thanksgiving Day, because there's a lot of turkeys that just get burnt on Thanksgiving Day. So you got to be careful on the right mastermind, but you'll have a lot of people that'll sit there and say, hey, we're going to have hot seats. And hot seats are amazing because it's one person sitting on a seat. So I'm kind of diving a little bit forward into it, but a hot seat is, one person and then everyone collectively, or figuratively around that person saying, here's my problem. Here's what I need help with. Here's what I'm doing. And then, people listen. Key thing, listen, and then they sit there and they can interject.
So the person on the hot seat says, this is my problem.
Here's my problem. Here's what I'm working on. Here's what I need help with. And this is just one aspect of a mastermind.
Yeah.
And then you're getting, collective feedback from your peers. Here's the great thing about a mastermind. I used to think that I always needed to surround myself with the same people in my industry. Holy moly. Guess what? We're all going to think the same. Doesn't mean not all of us, but here's the thing with a mastermind. It's not like a BNI group where you can only have two of every kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a BNI group, but you're typically going to have people from all different industries all over the place. BNI are trying to like, hey, I'll send you business. You send me business.
Right.
And they sit there and they take the collective group. It's like a symbiotic relationship, a giant brain that's going over it to help solve what you're working on. And here's the great thing. You might not be on the hot seat and you might not have anything to give back in that conversation in a mastermind. But I tell you what, the Success Finder came out of a mastermind. I sat there, I listened, and all I did, I gave back pieces here or there. I just started plucking Steve Sims, Ronsley Vaz, Gerard Adams, Zach Benson, Travis Chappell, Brandon Burkmeyer. I just started plucking things, and I had my Rubik's Cube figuratively and just started popping it in there. Now, I wasn't on a hot seat when I took
but you're still learning because you're there partaking.
Still learning. So the right mastermind is going to change you and how you do things, because gosh, I might not have a marketing company, which I don't, but if I listen to someone who has an ad agency and they're talking about working with attorneys or plumbers or just whatever it is, and they give an example of something that happened that worked or didn't work, I can sit there and be like, oh my gosh, it's completely different, but I can sit there and pluck that idea and I can plug it to where I want to.
Yeah.
I'm building a company around plucking other people's ideas, because what do they say? There's only 7 chords in a song, and everything else has just, been regurgitated. So the right mastermind is life altering, but it's a conglomerate. It's a group perspective of the right people in the right order. Working together. And they can go from, you'll have people say, we got a 1-day mastermind. We've got a 3-month mastermind, 6. I mean, there's all different things. So I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of it, but a mastermind is a group of people coming together and sharing their collective thoughts and working together to help solve something.
Can I ask a question on that really quick? Do you have an opinion on an ideal size for a mastermind? Is there, an opinion on this is way too many brains, trying to work together versus too few? Are there thoughts on that?
Yeah. And so one of the oldest masterminds in this country, and the gentleman, I'm going to kind of utilize some of what he thought, and I'll interject a little of my own personal opinion on it. But Pat Carney has, from what I've researched and looked, and I've been able to interview him on the podcast, one of the country's, and it could be one of the world's oldest running masterminds. He started it, I believe, in the 70s. My memory will be a little jogged on this one, but Pat Carney started in the 70s with a bunch of artists and musicians and just in that area. And Pat Carney, by the way, you're going to find 3 Pat Carneys out there. You're going to find Pat the artist. You're going to find Pat Carney, I think, who is a female, also artist. And then you're going to find a Pat Carney who's in like maybe a famous niche rock band or something. Okay. Pat Carney has gray, flowing hair, and is just a brilliant individual. The Pat Kearney that I'm speaking of. And I want to say his is called the Yes Mastermind. He believes, I think it's an odd number. It's like 12 or 13. He believes is the perfect number for a mastermind. Okay. And again, I'm not trying to, but if memory serves me, he believes 12 or 13. He found out, and he started his mastermind, and he's worked with artists such as, I don't know if you've heard of any of these people, John Lennon.
Oh,
during the great breakup, I think is what it was called, between Yoko and John. There was a period where where Pat was working, and I'm not trying to put words in Pat's mouth, but that was how the story was delivered to me, that I understand it. And then just about any famous, rock musician, classical music out there, like Pat's painted.
Okay.
So but when he found out about masterminds, and he's grown his since then to where it's not just artists, but he believes, I think it's like 12 or I think it's an odd number. I think he thinks 13 or 12 or 11, something like that. So I think a mastermind, it depends on what your purpose is behind it. When you want to say what's the perfect number, and what you want to accomplish out of it. I think it can be as intimate as, 3 to 6 or 7 people. But I think when you start getting to 100 or 500 or 1,000 person mastermind, I think it loses the purpose or the integrity in what can actually be accomplished in it, and what you really want to do. So I think the term mastermind it's delicate, and people abuse the term mastermind more times than you can count. So small to medium intimate, I think, is really important in the integrity of what a mastermind is.
I agree. And it's small enough that people can participate if they want to, but large enough that if one person just decides to sit back and listen that day, that everybody else there's still enough people to engage and learn. The other thing about a mastermind, y'all, is just because you join not y'all, but people out there, just because you join a mastermind, that doesn't mean that that's the mastermind you should be in forever, because you evolve and the people in the group evolve. So some people might be in a mastermind that they're in the same mastermind with the same people for months or maybe even a year or two. But at some point, most people get to the point that they either want to, go into other masterminds or whatever. Because it's all about growth, and it's all about where you're going to be challenged and where you can learn the most.
You will outgrow a mastermind. You just will. Now, I could be in Steve Sims' speakeasy from now to the end of time because of how Steve does it. And he doesn't call it a mastermind, but I could be in the speakeasy, from now to the end of time, because of how it is formed and how it works. Sure. Anytime that I go to something like that, I always find someone that I need, or I find someone that that they know.
Yeah.
And so that's the important thing. You're going to find people you need. Anyone that I'm working with right now, and what I'm building is literally because of coaching and masterminds. And it's just like, I needed someone when we were in Nashville. Okay. And that's the first time Lisa and I met face to face.
No, we met in San Francisco.
Okay. I'm sorry. San Francisco.
But we didn't really talk. I mean,
I get gray hairs going on up here. And so,
we were both there. I was like, the guy with the wild hair. No, we were both there, but we didn't really talk. Were you in Vegas?
No, I wasn't able to go to Vegas. And the more I hear about the people that were there, I'm like, but I couldn't go. I can't go to Arizona next month. So anyways, I wasn't there.
Yeah, but we didn't really talk until Nashville. Yeah.
Yeah. Till Nashville. And then after that. So, mastermind, again, there's my thoughts on a mastermind, coaching, mentors. So I think one thing that I learned from one of my coaches is he talks about, 3 things, and I've done a solo show on this, is you're going to have cheerleaders, crabs, and challengers. And you need the 3 C's in life. Cheerleaders, it's great. You want to feel good. You need people sitting there saying, rah, rah, rah. But if everyone's always telling you yes, are you really getting an objective opinion? Then you're going to have the crabs. gosh, we have crabs. You got to look around it, and you want to get rid of the crabs in your life. Okay. Those are the people saying you can't do it.
Yeah.
And I had that starting in high school, where I had a teacher that said I couldn't do it. And so you're going to have the crabs. Even today, I guarantee you, if you look at your inner circle, you're going to have someone that's a crab in your life. Get rid of them. Okay. And then you're going to have the challengers, the best of everything.
Yes.
They're not going to tell you rah, rah, rah. They're not going to tell you. And that's where a coach is. So that's why I'm getting to. A coach is going to be the challenger. Mm-hmm. They're going to sit there and they're going to push you. So when I brought this idea to Steve Sims, after San Francisco Speakeasy, I said, hey, I'd love to just hop on a call with you. I want to tell you about something that I'm creating. And so this is at the end of 2019. Mm-hmm. And Steve, this is, and again, he might look at it differently, but this is what I kept feeling. He was doing this the whole time. And he's just sitting there. And I didn't understand, but I wasn't offended by it. I'm like, this is Steve Sims. I've gotten to know him, but like I'm getting, he's doing this. And he says to me, he says, Brandon, he says, I'm not trying to beat you up. I don't want you to feel that I'm just telling you everything you're doing is wrong. Mm-hmm. What you're building, I feel, is needed. But I'm here to challenge you. Yeah. I'm here to sit there and keep you thinking differently, because you're going to have this. And he just kept doing it. He's like, I'm not trying to beat you up. I don't want you to feel that that's what I'm doing here. But he challenged me. Now, by the way, I'll say this. Steve is one of my coaches. Mm-hmm. By the way, I said coaches, meaning plural. That means I have more than one coach, people. And so the coaching is someone that's going to challenge you. They're going to hold you accountable, and they're not going to put up with your BS. Mm-hmm. They're going to sit there and help you move the needle. Mentors. All right, let's hop into mentors. Now, we've had mentors. Hopefully people have always had mentors since birth till where they're at right now. And I never really realized that I've, until the last few years, I'm like, oh, well, I've always had mentors around me. Those are the people that they've done things, they've experienced things, and you listen to them. They could be friends, they could be family, they could be bosses, they could be coworkers. So mentors, that's the one thing that you always have around you. Yeah. If you're looking for it. Now, again, I know there are situations people just don't have mentors. The world is not an easy place. The world is a tough place. I don't mean to sit there and say I'm void of knowing that. I get that's a real thing. So I've been fortunate. I've always had mentors, and it's nice. You can bounce ideas off of them. You can throw some things out there. You can joke with them, a little jostling. But mentors are something that you don't always have to pay for. Yeah. They're around you. Look for that person. Like, you know what? If Rachel reached out to me, now I'm not a mentor to Rachel, but if Rachel reached out to me after this and said, hey, I started my new business about 6 months ago. Just have, you've done this before. Can we have a conversation? We probably have that conversation where we get to know each other a little bit, a little bit more, a little bit back and forth. And then I'm like, hey, and she's like, hey, I've got going through this, man, that's really awesome that you've been able to accomplish this. By her, stroking that ego, then I'm going to sit there and say, oh, I've done this. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, you're doing this. And I'm stroking her ego. Now, neither one of them is intentional, but it's just human nature. And so now Rachel and I have a mentorship type of relationship to where we have a conversation. So mentorship is all around you if you have that opportunity, and if you just look at life. You can pay for a mentor, but there's probably more mentors around you that you can get for free. Yeah. You're going to pay for a coach. You're going to pay for a mastermind. Now, I'll be in a mastermind here in 2 nights called Thursday Night Boardroom. I don't pay for it. Here's the thing. I paid to get there. I know I'm not to explain, but like I paid money to be in this and to be in this. And then I met this person and they introduced me to this person. Yeah. And I paid for this. And they're like, you should join Thursday Night Boardroom. So though I'm not paying on a monthly basis to be there, I paid in some form of fashion too.
You already paid your dues kind of to get there by me.
I'll continue to pay my dues. I'll continue to pay my dues for the rest of life.
And if you stop paying your dues figuratively or literally and stop learning, you stop growing.
Because I won't have a purpose.
Yeah.
I won't be working to solve a problem. I won't be working to have a purpose. I won't be fulfilled.
Yeah. That's why I can't imagine ever not working because I don't look at my work as like a job. It's just like the way that I think. And I think y'all are the same way. And, it might be something different. Like by the time you're my age, Rachel, you might not be doing the copywriting and the editing, but your brain is still going to be working around those types of topics and interested in learning more and helping people. I just can't imagine not.
So does Rachel, let me ask you selfishly, do you you write copy?
I do. Yeah. Copyright, copy editing are kind of my two big wheelhouses. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got someone I'd love to introduce you to that I've met through Thursday Night Boardroom. And the only reason I trust this person, I don't know them that well, but the reason I trust this person is because everyone that's on there that runs it says he's the copy person. So, I need to make sure and that's what I'm doing right there. This isn't like, oh, hey, look, that's because of a mastermind. That's because of coaching. Yeah. Like, oh, I didn't know. I'll be honest with you. I did not know what Rachel did. We've had one conversation before this.
Right.
But now that I know copy, Rachel already has the blue circle with the check mark, figuratively, because Lisa sat there and validated her and her father and her brother and what they're doing. And so in turn, I'm like, oh, you do copy. Well, I know someone, I don't know why, but like they're amazing at what they do because someone else told me that has a blue check mark. So I need to introduce you to someone else.
That's a great person for you to meet.
Yes. Well, I always say this too. We were talking about just like not working. And I always say, I want my business to be an extension of myself. That's kind of the phrase I always put out there, whatever it is, whatever you're doing in whatever phase of life, it's just, I want my business. I want what I'm doing just to be an extension of me and for other people to feel that in return, which is, I don't know, that's kind of my philosophy on it.
That's how I am. It's not like it's a thing that we go to and then we leave. It's just part of us and we do different things for it at different times, but it isn't this discrete thing or distinct thing that we go to like people go to a job.
Yeah, no, it really isn't. And so one of the words I struggle with is work.
Yeah.
Liam comes in, our 6-year-old, says, Daddy, come cuddle with me. Daddy's working. Book time's over, cuddle time, lights off. I'm like, buddy, hey, I gotta go get work done. But what I do isn't work. And so I think this was last night I came up with it. And so I'm trying to figure a way that it makes sense when I articulate this to him is, hey, Daddy's learning and implementing.
Ooh.
And that's what came to me last night. It was, I don't know, geez, it was like 11:15. Mm-hmm. And I was watching the Kobe Bryant documentary.
Oh yeah.
I remember where I was at a year ago today because Kobe Bryant, passed away and I was coming back from a mastermind. Which was a ski trip, and I'm staying in the bus line waiting to, get to the airport. And so one of the things I thought about last night is if you truly believe that you're an entrepreneur, if you truly believe you're an entrepreneur or whatever it is, okay, we're not working.
Right.
It reminds me of the song, The Cats in the Cradle and Silver, Little Boy Blue and the Man on the Moon. When you coming home, Dad? I don't know when, but we'll get together then.
Yeah.
Dad's always busy. And I've hated telling my son Daddy's working.
Right.
And so last night, I don't know. And I'm, it's, hey, bud, I'm learning and implementing right now.
That's good. I like that.
Because it's not work.
Yeah, it isn't. And you want to instill in him a love for learning.
Yeah.
And it's funny how the things that we do as parents, that even if our kids hate it, it's funny how they absorb it. I'll give you a story of my family growing up. Well, I think y'all know Daddy was blind. He was very stubborn, but he was also very inquisitive. And he always just wanted to know the answers to stuff. So when we were growing up, I don't care if it was a conversation we were having or something on TV, it would be, get out the dictionary. I hated it because it would be those huge dictionaries, the World Book dictionaries, 2 of them like that. So be like, oh,
Rachel, you don't know what it is. You don't know.
Oh, I tell you what, my grandpa was a big word person.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I figured Rachel's a lot younger than you and I.
Like, why did you have to say something that, because whether it was us using a word and him thinking maybe we didn't use it right, or whether it was whatever, anytime there was a question about a word, get out the dictionary. And now Lisa, Google, I don't care what it is, whether it's a word or whether it's whatever, I'm like Googling it. And I let my sisters and I laugh. We're like, Daddy would be in heaven if he could have been around to have Google at his beck and command, because he could have just said, Google, what is whatever. He would have just been so happy. But it is even the things that drive our kids crazy about ourselves, the things that do have something positive underlying it, our kids still will absorb it and learn from it and implement it in their own way when they're growing up. Not the bad things, but I love what you're saying, learning and implementing.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, I'm learning and implementing right now. And so I've been hating it, for the last year. Daddy's working because he always, knew Daddy was doing something, but like with COVID, Daddy's always home. Daddy's always working from home. Yeah. Our lease ended up expiring in April of last year. So it was almost like a godsend. We got, like we were able to take those expenses and reallocate them. Awesome. In one of my other businesses. So it worked out, but I live and breathe and eat everything where I'm at, and I don't travel like I used to. So 2020 for me was, I got to be around my family. And real quick, before I forget, so I just clicked over on the comments thing. There was a couple people, Kimberly, Laura, and then Kimberly again.
A friend of mine, she lives here. She says she agrees that specialized training is so much better than standard university classes for so many.
Yeah. And there's a purpose for both. I'm not saying that like, hey, we should run away from it. But again, if you want to be a CPA, do you really need to, again, I'm not saying don't go to college, but gosh, we've got the people for it. If you want to be a doctor, a nurse, an engineer, I want you to have the piece of paper. If my son is going to go operate on you, and we just started playing the game Operation for the holidays, which is still equally as horrible as it was when I was a child, by the way, just,
I love that. I love that.
No, you don't. No one loves Operation, but we keep playing it.
Except, we love it.
So if you want to do that, like, I get it. You need that piece of paper, but beyond that, this is the thing that I would say when our son turns 18. And that's just a placeholder at the end of the day. We've already had this conversation. If I have 30,000 in each hand, you can have 30,000 that will help pay for you. Now, if he wants to be a doctor and stuff, then there will be more. Yeah. But if you want to just go get a business degree, if you want to go get whatever it is, here's 30 grand. It's going to last you maybe a year, room, board, education, especially by the time he gets there. Here's 30 grand. Now, here's 30 grand in the Success Finder. He'll probably get my cell phone, which will have all the contacts in there and everything. So here's 30 grand. This 30 grand will probably last you 3 years. It'll pay for your room, your board, and paying for the people that are going to teach you that have already experienced it. Right. Which grand do you want? So that to kind of answer that one. And then the next one, Laura,
who we know because we met her in Nashville, right, Brandon?
Oh gosh, I was on the phone with her husband. Today, talking about Success Finder. They're going to be on the platform.
Great. I figured that they would. And then Kimberly again just said, what? There's no box? She said she loves that perspective. Yeah.
There isn't. You don't say, I think outside the box.
Yeah.
There is.
Because people that say they think outside the box are not thinking outside the box. I mean, it's like, okay, it's been cliche for 20 years now, but and I will say, to be a CPA, you do have to have a degree, though, because you got to take the CPA. Well, I used to be one.
Okay, so
hated it, but to be a book.
What if someday you don't have, you can actually go through a mastermind or self-education?
Why do you have to have a bachelor's degree? Management, marketing, any of that stuff, because it changes so rapidly, and not to be mean, but most of the people teaching it have never done it in real life, or if they have, they did it so long ago,
We're going to change the face of self-education and how we can accomplish changes and how we can solve problems and how we can be more of a value add as opposed to a value drain. And if that's you, if that's who you want to be, if that's what you want to surround yourself with, reach out to me.
That's great. That's great.
All right, Brandon, tell everybody how they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Super easy. You can reach me at Brandon at thesuccessfinder.com. Just spelled out how it is, thesuccessfinder.com.
And I'm a cheerleader, so it's SUCCESS.
FINDER.com. Hey.com. So you can reach out to me that way. You can find me on any social accounts at Brandon Straza, Straza. And hey, I'm for the individual, for the right connection, for the right person. One of the things that we're going to be doing this year is I've been funding this myself. I'm going to continue to fund this myself. But for the right connection, you can text me, and I'm going to give my cell phone number. And if something comes of it, great. 239-405-3662. It's time to change. It's time to change the face of how we have access to things. If you believe in finding that Sally and making sure she has access to something else, she has more life experiences than someone else, and you find that's important, reach out to me. We're going to build something, because it's not mine. It's Rachel's, it's Lisa's, it's Steve's, it's Gerard, it's everyone else's out there. I just decided to rearrange it in a Rubik's Cube to solve a problem.
It's going to be so awesome. And also catch Brandon's podcast, The Mastermind Effect.
Yeah. You want to learn, oh my gosh, I love it. So when I get to interview people, here's the coolest thing: start a podcast. You want to know who you should go for podcast coaching? I'll tell you, because we're going to have those people on the platform. Yeah. But start a podcast. The doors it opens. Oh, I need to financially monetize I'm not looking to financially monetize the Mastermind Effect. Yeah. It is amazing the conversations that I've been able to have because I started a podcast. Yeah. People wouldn't have given me the time. Oh, wait, you're building a platform to do what?
Yeah.
I can have a conversation with just about any result leader out there because someone will say, oh, you need to talk to Brandon.
That's right.
A podcast last year. That's it. I'm not nothing special about me, but
well, I disagree with that. But the podcast, people can go listen to it and they can learn a ton before the Success Founder's even up. And podcast, and it's funny. That's another thing. You have to figure out your platform and what meets your personality, because I wanted to start one for 3 years and I kept putting it off because I was like, just the thought of, all the production and stuff. And when I decided to do it live, and I started this past summer, it was like freedom, because then I couldn't get into my OCD perfectionist self. It's out in the wild. Whatever I say is out there. And so no matter what you do, whether it's a podcast, building your business, whatever, figure out yourself, what you like, what you don't like, why you like it and don't like it, and then build it to fit you, not other people. But definitely go check out Brandon's podcast. It's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Rachel. I look forward to our future conversations. Lisa, same thing. I just appreciate you, taking an interest in what we're building to help change some lives.
Yeah, I love it, Brandon. And I look forward to seeing you in Scottsdale. You'll be there, right?
No, remember we already said I wasn't able to make it to Scottsdale.
Right. I have no
I'm
memory.
Glad that you were listening. Yeah, I'm not able to make it to Scottsdale.
I'm 59. I'm old. I can't remember stuff.
You've got a few years on me. So just because I've got this luscious head of hair.
Sorry. I don't know why I can't remember that. Okay.
It's okay. Sorry. No worries. Thank you so much for your time. And please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. And everybody come to watch the show Thursday night. Adaptable Entrepreneurs Thursday night with the wife of my guest last week. So we're going to hear the flip side of her point of view of what happened during, them turning around their business. It's going to be really interesting. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. Talk to y'all later. Bye.